alarm goes off at 6:15 a.m. You don't wake up because you're rested. You wake up because missing one day of work would mean missing part of next month's rent. Your checking account has $417.82 left. Rent is $1,350. Your car payment is $310. Your credit card balance sits at $8,900, collecting nearly 24% annual interest. Every dollar already has a destination before it even arrives. Money isn't freedom yet. It's oxygen. Just enough to survive another month. You tell yourself that earning more will solve everything. A promotion, a side hustle, overtime, another paycheck. And for a while, it seems true. Your salary climbs from $48,000 a year to $65,000. The numbers on your pay stub grow larger, but so do your expenses. A nicer apartment, a newer car, better clothes. The pressure doesn't disappear. It simply becomes more expensive. You aren't poor anymore. You're trapped at a higher income. Then one evening, after another exhausting commute, you notice something unsettling. The wealthiest people you know rarely talk about salaries. They talk about ownership. They don't ask how much someone earns. They ask what someone owns. That question stays with you longer than you expect. The next paycheck feels different. Instead of upgrading your lifestyle, you keep driving the older car. You cancel subscriptions you barely notice. You build your first emergency fund, $1,000, then $3,000, then 6 months of living expenses. It doesn't look impressive from the outside. Nobody applauds cash sitting quietly in a savings account. But something changes inside you. For the first time, an unexpected expense no longer feels like a disaster waiting to happen. It feels like a problem you can afford to solve. The fear begins to fade. With fear fading, curiosity takes its place. You start reading annual reports instead of scrolling endlessly at night. You learn why businesses generate cash flow, why investors care about margins, debt, and return on equity. You stop seeing the stock market as a casino. It becomes a marketplace where ownership is bought and sold every day. Your first investment is small, $200. It feels insignificant. But months later, you invest another $300, then $500. Eventually, you're automatically investing 20% of every paycheck into broad index funds. You stop trying to predict tomorrow. You begin buying decades instead. The numbers grow slowly, painfully slowly. At first, your portfolio reaches $10,000, then $25,000, eventually $100,000. The strange thing is that reaching 6 figures doesn't feel like winning the lottery. It feels quieter than that. The excitement isn't the balance itself. It's realizing that your money has started working while you're asleep. One morning, you check your investments after a strong market month. They gained more than you earned during several weeks at work. Nothing about your daily routine changed, yet your financial life did. You begin to understand why compounding feels invisible until suddenly it doesn't. Years pass. Your salary continues to increase, but it is no longer the main engine of your wealth. Dividends arrive without invoices. Index funds appreciate alongside thousands of growing companies. A small rental property produces monthly cash flow after expenses. Every asset becomes another employee that never asks for a vacation. Your dependence on work begins to shrink, not because work became easier, because ownership became larger. People assume wealth is about buying expensive things. They notice the house, the watch, the vacations. They rarely notice the years you quietly invested while saying no to things that everyone else said yes to. They never see the evenings spent learning taxes, investing, business structures, and risk management. They don't see the compound interest chart taped beside your desk, or the budget spreadsheets, or the weekends when you chose long-term freedom over short-term comfort. Financial freedom doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in stages. First, you stop worrying about groceries. Then, you stop worrying about bills. Eventually, you stop worrying about emergencies. Later, you realize your investments can cover your housing costs, then your transportation, then your entire lifestyle. One day your annual investment income quietly exceeds your annual spending. The calendar still says Monday, but Monday no longer owns you. For the first time in your life, work becomes optional. Not because you've become lazy, because you finally earned the ability to choose. That choice changes everything. Your conversations become calmer. You negotiate differently. You leave toxic environments without panic. You don't accept every opportunity simply because it pays. Money has stopped controlling your decisions. It has started protecting your values. But something even stranger happens. The more financially independent you become, the less interested you are in proving it. Luxury loses its power to impress you. Status becomes less valuable than time. A free afternoon becomes more meaningful than another expensive purchase. The definition of wealth quietly changes. You no longer measure success by income. You measure it by control over your own life. How many mornings belong entirely to you? How often you can say no? How long your family could live comfortably if every paycheck stopped tomorrow? Eventually, you realize financial freedom was never the finish line. It was the removal of invisible chains. The freedom to think carefully instead of urgently. To make decisions based on conviction instead of survival. To build for children who may never fully understand the sacrifices that made their lives easier. The world often teaches you to chase higher paychecks, but history quietly rewards something else. Ownership, patience, time. Because in the end, financial freedom is not the moment you become rich. It's the moment your life is no longer dictated by the next paycheck. And from that moment forward, every dollar stops being a lifeline. It becomes a tool for building a future that outlives you.